Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Do Good Legacy podcast. We have an amazing guest today. Welcome, Mark Casto. I am so excited that you're here. I was on your podcast probably a little bit over a year ago now, right? Or about a year ago.
Yeah.
And we connected via Instagram, and we've obviously stayed in touch through the months. I am going to say, though, you were in Miami recently, and we weren't able to see each other, and I was very upset. Although I was in the middle of a very turmoil place. Personally, I don't think it would have been a great place I'm still upset we didn't get to actually meet, but I know it's going to happen one day
Yeah.
very soon because, I want to get you in person in the studio to do all the things. Anyways, you guys, I'm very excited for you guys to talk to Mark here because not only is he a phenomenal coach, but he's just a wonderful human being. And we're going to dive into all of the things today. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's
Hey.
exciting.
I'm so happy that you're here. I do wish I just signed a contract with a studio down here in Miami, and it's like such a cool vibe. And I'm like, I'm going to be away August and September, but we'll start recording in October. You'll have to find a way to come down here. You and your wife, you'll do a vacation, like a
Yeah.
weekend, and come do a
Listen,
podcast.
when I came to Miami, it's been a long time since I've been there. And so probably 15 years since I've been in Miami. And then I went like 3 weeks ago and almost didn't leave. Me and my wife were like, let's get the grandparents to drive the kids down. We're just not going to leave. It was awesome.
And tell everybody you're in Georgia, right?
No, so since we talked, I moved. And
Oh,
so I live in Mobile, Alabama area. So like
oh,
if people are familiar with like Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Mobile. So
okay.
we're down here on the coast. Went through some massive transition last year and end up like closing down the church that we started
Hmm.
and then transitioning down to Mobile. And so it's kind of nice to be close to the beach.
Welcome to the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
It's way
great.
better down here. Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, it's going to be a more perfect transition. I want to know, for those people that don't have no idea who the hell you are and what you do, before we get into all of the nitty gritty of the business and how much you've grown and all of the amazing things, I want to take people back to how this started. I want to take people back to you being a pastor,
Yeah.
running a church. I went to Catholic school for 9 years, and the priest at my school, Father Peter, I'll never forget him. Father Peter was a boxer before he became a priest. I
Wow.
remember hearing this when I was in 8th grade and being like, whoa, like what happened? How did he become a boxer? Like something must have happened.
Yeah.
And years later, he's still very much a priest, a very old priest now. When my brother passed away, he was one of the priests that, did the ceremony for my brother. And, you know, we connected again, and he told me the story. He told me like why he became a priest, and he was doing drugs, he was doing alcohol, and he was just going down a really dark path. And he found God in all of this eventually, and then stopped and became a priest, and that's what he devotes his life to. I always just think it's so interesting when these things happen, and so beautiful too, because I think that we as humans, and anybody that's been listening to a really long time, we're gonna get spiritual here, Mark. So this is gonna be your jam.
This is my life.
We're gonna get spiritual here. I think that we as humans, the only way that we learn, unfortunately, is through pain and suffering. And so, obviously, we're not saying that that's what you went through or anything like that. I don't actually know how you transitioned or why you transitioned. Actually, I do. I think I do. I can't remember. I think that we as humans go through pain and suffering, and then we go and we change. And it's not just the first time; it has to happen several times. I know I can speak for myself that before I quit my corporate job to travel the world to start my career 10 years ago, that for me, I had to hit rock bottom several times. Yeah. And I mean, it all started with losing my brother, but there was moments of sadness and rock bottoms after that, significant, that I look back and I could have been like, I could have done it here. I could have done it here. I could have done it here. Like, why did I choose this very moment? So walk us back, take us back to your preaching days.
My preaching days.
Your
You,
preaching days.
so
You're still preaching, by the way, because I
yeah,
still watch you, and
yeah,
he's like so good. And
yeah,
like I think preachers have this like way of talking to people that you're just like, yes, I believe.
yeah.
Like,
That's
tell
good.
me more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my story is kind of interesting because you tell the story of like my priest was a boxer before he became a priest. So
Yeah.
I think I was a priest before I was anything else. So because like I was raised in a pastor's home, so I wasn't Catholic. We were Protestant.
Okay.
Grew up in a very legalistic tradition of the church, and so I watched my mom and dad like pastor and lead a church, and I said I would never do it. And then I had this crazy encounter with God when I was 18, and all of a sudden I found myself doing exactly the thing that I said I wasn't going to do.
What was this encounter with God?
I was actually out. My dad had a small church in West Virginia. I was kind of in between. Like I just graduated high school, was contemplating what I was going to do with college. Maybe going to go on and play football at like a school, like an in-state school, and do the college thing. And I was just kind of in between, like, what should I do? And so I was in this place where I was like, not really like I knew my mom and dad had a relationship with God, but like and I'd seen some really awesome things like growing up. I saw like real miracles as a kid. Like I watched my dad grab a guy that I knew was a quadriplegic my entire life, and he walked out of a wheelchair and out
Wow.
of the church. I saw that when I was 7 years old.
Oh my
And
God.
so a lot of people hear stuff like that and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, or that stuff happens overseas. That doesn't really happen here. I've
Hmm.
been privileged to see that stuff here and around the world. So I'm really thankful, but still, like,
Wow.
even though you see those radical things, like at the end of the day, you have to have your own relationship and you have to have your own encounter, and you can't live off of other people's encounters. And so, like, I was just at a place at 18 where it was like, that's cool for my mom and dad, but like, I don't know what's true for me. I don't know, what I believe exactly. And
Hmm.
like, long story short, there came a snow. It was a Sunday morning during church. And I was just like, you know what? The nicest thing I could do right now is go outside, shovel snow, put salt down, and make sure that the old people at my dad's church don't slip and fall and break a hip. Like that was my thought process at 18.
Guys, that
And
just goes to show you the kind of man that he is.
so I'm like, okay. So I grabbed the shovel and I'm shoveling snow. I'm throwing ice or salt down on the ice to make sure there's no ice. And in the middle of that, I literally just felt this warmth come all over my body. And I don't want to say like an audible voice, it was so deep in my heart that it almost sounded like it was audible. And it was like, Mark, I've called you too. And it was just like this overwhelming feeling that God knew me, God knew my name, and
Mm-hmm.
he had his hand on my life for a specific purpose that I didn't know what. So I literally like don't remember anything. It was almost like I went into a trance, and
Hmm.
like I just walked straight into my dad's church. I lay on the altar. And when my head went down the altar, I went into this flash vision and I saw multiple things that would happen throughout my life. It's
Mm.
crazy. And I don't think I've seen all those things, but I've seen some of those things. And
Yeah.
so that encounter went from a kid who didn't want to learn, didn't want to read, wasn't interested in growing or any of those things. And after that encounter, I began to devour the Bible. I began to devour books. I
Wow.
began and two things. I devoured like things like concerning the scriptures, but also business and leadership. And like so I became somebody that was just like hanging out with the guys, goofing off, typical jock type stuff,
Hmm.
to an avid, consumed, passionate about God and business. And that would just become a track in my life that led to me at 19 years old, traveling all around the world, like literally was traveling 42 weekends out of the year, 6 weeks out of the country, preaching 7 times a week, like sometimes 7 times a week for like a 10-year period. I built a $23 million church facility when I was 25 on 100 acres of land. We started with
Wow.
like 6 people. And by the time that we were done there in Cleveland, we had 4 and 5 thousand people showing up for our gatherings and conferences. And it was like all that happened in my 20s.
And give us the date, like the year. So give us the time frame of this.
Oh man. So like my first encounter with God would have been 2004. So then all of this stuff, like building this massive ministry, all that. So '04, then you fast forward all the way to 2011 and 12 is when we start building this ministry in Cleveland, Tennessee.
And 2011, 12, we had the economic crash.
Yeah, it
Or
was
no,
crazy.
yeah. So like shit was pretty bad because I was in New York. I was graduating college in 2011.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like that I could talk, I mean, I could tell you crazy stories of provision during that time. We literally no bank in our town would give us money for this because we were primarily like a college age ministry.
Yeah.
And they were like, nobody's gonna like you're not gonna be able to raise the funds, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Within 16 months, we raised $23 million, and 7 million of it came from an anonymous donor. To this day, we don't know who it was. And so
Oh, I
like
just got goosebumps.
we literally got that ministry in Cleveland started. So like we got the architectural drawings and everything. Bank wouldn't loan us any money.
Yeah.
And then like we started gathering in what we called a little prayer barn with about 20 some college age people. We started walking around the prayer barn and I was like, everybody hold up one finger. We're going to ask God for $1 million to get this project started. And everybody was kind of like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "No, we're going to walk around this prayer barn. We're
I
going to
have
pray,
goosebumps.
and we're
Oh
going to hold
shit.
up one finger, and we're going to pray and believe God for $1 million to get this project started." A month later, I got a call from the office. "Mark, you got to come in." So I come in, I open up this envelope, and the envelope, it was from a wealth fund in the Boston, Massachusetts area, but in the name it said anonymous donor, and it was a check for $1 million. So we were kind of like, okay, is this a scam? So like we actually send it off. They verify everything. Within 24 hours, we found out it was a legit check. That was the first time. Then we went back to the prayer barn. I said, if God can give us one, he can give us three. We prayed for three. 6 weeks later, we got a $3 million check.
All right,
Um,
God.
so from the same place, same bank, same like whatever this was, but anonymous donor, and that person ended up giving us $7 million in total.
Did you ever
Um,
Google the because it came from the bank? It didn't come from the actual, like you weren't able to tell who it was.
Never. No, it was kept completely anonymous. We have ideas of who we think it might be, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, it was crazy. We literally
Wow.
like watched the hand of God like provide for us. But what's crazy is at the height of all that, like, so fast forward 3 years later after building this place, like we have thousands of people coming to our gatherings.
Yeah.
And I remember literally standing on the platform, staring at 4,000 screaming teenagers. And the Lord said, "You're done. You're done here. Like you did what you're supposed to do. You built this ministry with this other gentleman and you did everything you're supposed to. It's time to move on." This was 2015. And I was like,
Wow.
and I remember like just hearing this inner voice, this inner whisper that said to me, like, there's revolutionary change coming to your generation, and like it's not going to look like what you expected. And so like I was like, okay, I didn't really know what to do, and the Lord started like dealing with me. He said, look around at like your heroes and like people that you look up to.
Hmm.
And I started looking around at their marriages and their relationship with their children, and it was not good. And I was like, it's interesting. Okay, so my hero over here, he's been married for 20 years. His wife has no twinkle in her eye, and she doesn't even act like she wants to be in the same room with him. And
Mm.
then I started noticing two other heroes of mine. Like I would literally hear them talk. Their families were falling
Yeah.
apart, marriages falling apart, children didn't want anything to do with them. And I was going, and I literally heard the voice of the Lord and this inner witness in my heart say, "Mark, if you don't change your path in 20 years, you'll have the same testimony."
Mm.
And the Lord told me then, he said, I didn't birth you. I didn't bring you into the earth for you to
Hmm.
be famous.
Hmm.
I sent you into the earth with a specific purpose in mind. Because to be honest, when you're growing a ministry that fast, you're headed on what I call celebrity Christian. Uh, you're headed towards celebrity Christianity,
Yeah.
and I think people are aware enough now through news articles, headlines, and media. We've seen enough of those guys fall the past several years to realize that's probably not a healthy culture. It doesn't end
No.
well for
Yeah.
marriages,
Right.
family, church, any of that. So I literally walked away in 2015 from all of that
Hmm.
and spent 4 years in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina, and just learned to be a really amazing dad and husband.
When did you get married? When was
So I
all
got married in 2007.
Okay. So 2007, 2015, God gives you this message. You're like, I'm gonna stop away from this. And how did you meet your wife?
How did I meet my wife?
Yeah.
So I've known my wife since seventh grade. So like we grew up in
You
like
guys
the
are one of
same
those.
county.
Oh,
Like
it's like a
now,
Hallmark movie.
granted, we weren't high school sweethearts. She didn't like me all throughout high school.
Of course not.
Um,
Why would she? She was gonna marry you.
yeah.
She was gonna. She knew
she
it.
she literally, like, we were always friends, like we always hung out, had a great time, always, like, I actually became best friends with her cousins before I actually met her.
Yeah.
And one of her cousins started dating my best friend, and they were like, "Hey, would you want to go out on a double date?" And I was like, when you're in seventh grade as a
Yeah.
guy, it's not cool to date a girl either your age or younger. You got to
Yeah.
go for the older girls. And so I was like, I'm not about to like go hang out with a girl that's like a year younger than me. So that's not happening. When she got out of the car, I was like, and I literally, she got out of the back seat. They dropped her cousin off to go on this date with my friend, my best friend. She gets out of the car and goes to the front. I run out of the house and chase the car down, trying to get her to stop. Like, hey, you can go. She saw me chase the car. They didn't stop. They just kept going. So
You see, I told you. That's why she knew.
it's freaking awful. It's just terrible. That still
Oh my
grieves
god, I
me a
love
little
this.
bit.
And by the way, guys, whoever's listening to this, go to Mark's page, go to his Instagram. If you scroll, his wife has throughout that entire page.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not say this lightly. You look at the photo. I very much can be with couples and be with people, and I pick it up, I see it, I feel it. You guys look so in love, and your family is so beautiful.
Yeah,
And like,
thank
I
you.
genuinely say it, like, I have goosebumps when I'm saying that, and
Thank you.
like, it makes me so happy. And you were with her down here in Miami, and like, you share and you take selfies, and I'm like, they are so fucking, excuse my French, cute. Like, oh, like, and they have beautiful babies.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful babies. Okay, so she basically lets you run after her. We
Yeah.
fast forward
Yeah. So like we've
10
just
years later.
Yeah, yeah. So like I eventually won her over. I eventually got her, and we married young. Like I was
Yeah.
19, she was 18,
Oof.
and we went straight. I mean, like I moved away. There's all kinds of stories in this, but I moved
Yeah.
away to Tennessee. So the day we got married, we moved away from West Virginia, went to Tennessee, and I was on the road after our honeymoon nonstop. We were
Was she with
preaching,
you or she
traveling.
was in Tennessee?
Both.
Okay.
Sometimes she would go with me, sometimes she wouldn't. It depends. I mean, it was hard for us to do a lot of those trips together in the early days,
Yeah.
because we were traveling to India and
Wow.
Panama and Israel and going all over the place. So
How many kids do you have? Four?
I've got four
Yeah, I
now.
was gonna say
Yep,
four. So how old was your first child? How old were you when you had your first child?
23.
Okay, so now you've been doing this for almost 4 years or
Yeah,
5 years. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, like we were young
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
crazy big ministry,
Yeah.
and the Lord's like, look, dude, the people that you think are doing it
Mhm.
where it matters, their life's falling apart. I'm going to show you a different way.
Mm.
And so I literally walked away from all that. I was
Okay.
like, God bless you guys. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm looking at the fruit.
Mm.
And 20 years from now, I still want my wife to be obsessed with me, and I want my kids to think that I'm the greatest thing on the planet. And
Mm.
I can say, by the grace of God, I've been married 18 years. I've got 4 kids.
Mm.
My wife is obsessed with me. That's why we have 4 kids. And
I was like, they don't own a TV?
and my 4 kids, like I'm present in all their lives. I mean, like there's no greater win than when I woke up this year at Father's Day and my 15-year-old son had basically, without any like coaching, my wife didn't encourage him to do this. I wake up and he's got notes throughout the house that he's handwritten to me about what I mean to him. And
Oh,
when your 15-year-old
your
thinks about
son does
creative
that?
ways, a son who's manly, likes to hunt, fish, do all the stuff, probably chew tobacco and smoke a cigarette if I let him. Like he's
I was
just
gonna say,
he's just that kind of, he's what I call earthy. He's earthy.
he's earthy.
Yeah, he's earthy. He loves outdoors. He loves all those
I
things.
love
And
that.
my son at 15 years old wakes up on Father's Day before I do to say, I want to let my dad know how much I love him, what he means to me.
Are
Then
you gonna be the first person who's gonna cry on my damn
you're
podcast?
it's like you can take
Oh,
all that quote unquote success and you can fly a
yeah,
kite with it. To me,
yeah.
success is the fact that my wife loves being with me and my kids don't want to do anything outside of hanging out with dad.
Mm,
And so like I'm winning. So that was 2015. We walked away from everything. I went through what some people would call like a deconstruction process. Like I had to come out of a lot of legalism and a lot of just like, I didn't even know, with the religion I grew up in, I didn't even know if God loved me, if
mm,
God liked me. I think he tolerated me. And because of Jesus, like that's the only reason why he didn't hate me. But I had this another radical encounter with God in 2015, 2016, where I was sitting around a fire pit going, God, do you even love me? Do you even like me? And I went through
mm,
this whole thing in the Song of Solomon in the Bible, and I'm reading it, and it's this whole story of, it's really a parable of Solomon and this woman that he is pursuing, but it's really a picture of Christ in the church.
mm,
And I'm reading this whole story and I realize the Shulamite doesn't know how to receive love,
mm,
and she's burnt out, she's been abused, she's been mishandled, especially in the church. And I
mhm,
saw so much of my story in it. And so when the bridegroom pursues her, he says, I love you, I think you're lovely. And she goes, what are you talking about? Look at me, I'm overworked, I'm burnt out, my
mhm,
skin has been like just burnt up in the sun. Why would you want anything to do with me? And every time she would create excuses for
mhm,
why she shouldn't be loved, the bridegroom continues to just pour out more affection on her.
mm,
And in that moment, I realized, I heard that again, that inner whisper. And this is what God said to me. He said, Mark, you will never talk me out of loving you. And that became one of the most transformative encounters of my life. And so I found this really amazing place. I feel like I grew up in church all my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had this encounter with God at 18, but I don't think I actually knew him until I was 28 years old with that encounter. And when
Yeah.
I heard his voice and I felt his love, it was an unbelievable feeling. And so I've never been the same since then. So the ministry stuff and church stuff, like still involved in a local church, still go and preach and travel every once in a while, but that legalism and not knowing how God feels about me and chasing ministerial
Mm-hmm.
success, all of that died years ago. And so
Yeah.
now I'm like free to be authentic. I'm free
Mm-hmm.
to be me, and it doesn't have to look churchy the way I was raised. And so now I'm enjoying life and just doing whatever I feel the wind drive me to do.
I love it. I love it. It's so interesting. You're just talking about your story and how God said He'll always love you, and I find it so interesting that you even question that, because from where I sit, I'm like, of course He loved you. Like He gave you all of it. He literally was like, I'm here. This is your lesson. This is what I put you on this earth for. And
Mhm.
it's not just this. It's this, and it looks different every single way.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think we all go through that. I think
Yeah.
we all go through that. It looks different for everyone, but I can absolutely resonate with that in that conversation with God, where I literally was like, why? Why this? Why now? Why me? Wow. So
Yeah.
powerful.
We know how to disqualify ourselves better than anybody.
Oh, 100%.
And because we know us and we know our
Yeah.
thoughts. And sometimes people think that they are their thoughts, and that's not true. Sometimes thoughts are just thoughts.
You're on YouTube, Mark, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever gotten any haters on YouTube?
You know where I get the most hate from is Christians, people that
Oh, I'm
I've
sure.
served my entire life, because now that I'm in business and really changing people's lives in this way, then all I have is love for money. I'm just chasing money. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever,
yeah, whatever. Whatever.
whatever.
Exactly, whatever.
You stay broke, and I'm going to keep changing people's lives.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Literally, I was just gonna say. Well, I always tell people that the best haters are on YouTube, and the best haters are on YouTube, because I got to be honest with you. Like nobody, I've gotten haters throughout my years for sure. Nobody's made of glass. No, I always say this. Nobody can ever put me down as much as I put myself down, because, like you say, we know ourselves.
Yep.
But I got to tell you, those people on YouTube are pretty damn close. Where I've been like, I look at comments, I'm like, you really want to be humbled? Go to my YouTube channel and find my best performing video and scroll through those comments, and I'm like, they saw it. They said what? So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We will never. Nobody can hurt us as much as we hurt ourselves.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely. Okay, so 2015, you leave, you start to walk away. How long does this take? Like 3, 4 years, I'm assuming. Like probably like for you to officially like pull the threads and cords and
Yeah,
disconnect.
like it was kind of like 2015. I was trying to keep one foot in that world and one foot in another, and the Lord had to like just slam the door in my face.
Yeah,
And so, like, even though the transition was pretty quick, it took me about 4 years to really process before I felt like I could
move on.
step into another season. And so, what ended up happening is we took 4 years off. This is crazy. I'll tell you another crazy God provision story. So 2015, I'll walk away. 2016, I'm about several months into this journey, this new journey, and I was still traveling some and still preaching, and that's how I made a living. That was my income, was
Yeah,
traveling and preaching.
yeah.
The Lord was like, I want you to cancel your full itinerary. And I'm like, that's like, what do you want me to do? Flip hamburgers or pick peaches because like literally we lived
Big
in
pieces.
like literally in South Carolina where we moved,
Yeah,
you had a Waffle House and then hundreds of thousands of acres of peach farms.
yeah.
So our county,
I mean,
and
yo, do not knock Waffle House, okay?
okay, I
Those
love
are
Waffle
not,
House.
so
I
do
love
I.
Waffle House. I'm just saying there wasn't much
And
options. And so like I love Waffle. I'll go probably right after this podcast now that
yo,
we're
Waffle
talking
House is
about.
the best. I wish they had something here in Miami like
Yeah.
Waffle House.
Yeah, so I mean, like literally, our county produced more peaches than the whole state of Georgia where we lived. So
Wow.
it's like I was like, Lord, what am I going to do? And
And this was
so
again another whisper.
it's another just something here in
Yeah.
this internal world, like
Yeah.
it's not you
Mhm.
because you wouldn't make a stupid decision like this.
Yeah.
And so like every whisper like
Yeah. Yeah.
changed my life
Yeah.
dramatically, and like
Yeah.
I can't say that I hear that every single day, but the
Yeah.
times I have, it's produced abundance of fruit. So
Yeah.
anyways, like I literally am like, can't I hear this, like, cancel your full itinerary. And I'm like, how am I going to make a living? So I call a couple of spiritual leaders in my life and I'm like, hey, look, this is what I feel like I'm hearing from the Lord. Can you pray about this and tell me I'm crazy? Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't do this. Both of these leaders, who are very well respected men in the church, they end up calling me back and they're like, no, I think you heard exactly what you're supposed to do. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so I like talked to my wife. I'm like, this is what I feel like I'm supposed to do. And she's like, okay, we'll figure it out. So I call all of these appointments. There's probably 40 some appointments I have to
Wow.
cancel. And I just told people, like, I'm in this really interesting space. We just moved, like, I'm really focused on my family right now. I need some time to kind of like process what God's doing in my heart. So soon as I make the last phone call, it took me about 2.5 days to do this.
Mhm.
3 days after that, I have a businessman call me and he said, Mark, he's like, man, I've been praying for you all week and God just dropped your name in my spirit. And like, I've just been praying for you. And I felt today to just reach out and say, hey man, like what can I do for you? How can I pray for you? And I jokingly said to the man, well, I need a salary. Like, that's what I need. And he said, well, that's exactly why I'm calling. And that man paid my salary for the entire 4 years that I lived in South Carolina. I didn't have to get a job. I didn't have to work. I spent 4 years and all I did was pray, write. I wrote a couple of books and just attended a local church and was a present father and husband for 4 years. Did nothing. He paid my salary the entire 4 years.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Can I get
And
his number, please?
so I mean, like, but
Oh,
the Lord told me this
yeah,
again, like inner whisper. Because I asked him, I said, why are you doing this? Like, why
yeah.
such provision? I don't need to go out and get a job. I don't. And the Lord said this to me. He said, all your life you were taught that I was only pleased and loved you because of what you did for me.
Yeah.
I want to give you a season of life where I prove that I love you for no other reason than you just being you.
Oh, oh, Mark.
So 4
Wow.
years, the Lord just let me be me because
Yeah.
I was raised in a religious culture that says you got to work harder, you got to
Yeah. That.
prove that you love God,
Oof.
and then maybe you'll do enough that He will say, well done, or be
Yeah.
proud, or bless you. And everything was works, works, works. And the Lord allowed me 4 years to sit still and do nothing but just be. I didn't
Wow.
go travel. I didn't do ministry. And the Lord's like, I'm providing for you because of you, not what you do for me.
Wow.
And it was revolutionary for my life. And so, like, that's when I say, like, I know He loves me.
Yeah.
Like, I know He pays attention to the intimate details of my life.
Yeah.
And He so loved me and He knew how deep that legalism and that works
Mhm.
righteousness stuff was in me, that He
Mhm.
was like, I've got to do something radical to show Him that I love Him just for who He is, not what He thinks He can do for me. And that
Wow.
was a game changer. So that was like 2015 to 2019.
Mhm.
And then we get sent to plant a church in Covington, Georgia. And this leads to where you and I connect on the heels of this next part. Go
Mhm.
plant the church. One of the hardest things I ever did. We get there just in time to plant the church and go right into COVID. Went into COVID. That was
Fun time.
2020.
Mhm.
2021, my wife miscarries a child.
Mm.
Devastating. 2022, the people who had paid our salary, built us a house, said that when it got paid off, they were going to give it to us,
Mhm.
only to find out that after 3 years of living in that house, they took our salary, kicked us out of the house, and said, we're out.
Yeah.
And we didn't really even know why.
Oof.
So there I am in 2022, planting a young church, 4 kids,
Mm.
and we move into a 1,200 square foot apartment
Wow.
going, what the heck just happened? Like, we've experienced all this provision. We're
Yeah.
doing exactly, God, what you told us to do. Now, why are we in the middle of this hell? And it took me 11 months to get back on our feet.
Mhm.
Finally got our income back, traveled, preached, did everything I knew to do to like stay afloat.
Mhm.
And then literally, this is so crazy. Buy our house. We find like we buy a house, buy land, and it's like we're loving life.
Mhm.
And 2 months later, I'm like walking in my backyard, and the Lord's like, hey, I want to talk to you about media and business. And I was like, I've got this young church plant. I don't know what I would even
And this
do in
is
business.
23. We're in 23 now.
Now we're in 23.
Yeah.
I, like business and media, like I'm focused on this young church plant. Like we're a young church. I was like, okay, like what is happening right now? And for 45 minutes, I couldn't even pray about anything else. It was just like media and business, media and business, media and business.
Oh,
And
shit.
this is Jen, this is before Almighty God. I raised my hands in the air and I said, God, if this is really you and what I'm doing is not it, and media and business is the new blueprint, then shut down what I'm doing and give me the new blueprint.
Oh, shit.
7 days later, our
Yes.
church burned
Burned
down.
down.
And like we have the video of how this happened. It's so crazy. So the church fire happened.
Wow.
It was devastating. Took our church down, 7 other businesses with it. It was called the
Oof.
Covington Fire of 2023. And literally like just a crazy thing. It happened because a salon that was connected to our church, like, so think like downtown,
Town.
we had taken a second floor of
Mhm.
a historic building. So it was a large building and
Mhm.
there's a salon attached to it. So all these buildings are connected.
Yep.
And this woman goes on the back porch smoking a cigarette. She flips the cigarette, it rolls underneath the porch, and they didn't know that there was a dryer vent that was blowing lint underneath that little porch. And so her cigarette butt, she throws it, it rolls under the porch, and then you watch this on video. The fire goes to the porch, then it climbs up the wall, it goes up into the ceilings, and then 7 businesses and a church fire, it was done.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so when the smoke settled and we were like 4 days after the fire, I'm walking in my backyard and I'm going, okay, Lord, like, what are we going to do with this church? Like, how are we going to get this going? And the Lord's like, so do you want to talk about media and business?
He's
And
kind of funny, isn't he?
I was like, yeah, I do. Let's figure this out. And that launches
And you
into
know
everything.
nothing. And you know nothing about media. Well, you know about business, obviously. But you
I
know nothing
mean,
too much about media.
ministry and business, they can be related in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. I mean, you have to manage money. You don't build a large ministry without knowing how to manage. But I never was into like marketing, media, or any of that
Or
kind of stuff, like
sales.
in a major way, or sales or any of
Yeah.
that. But I had definitely had an interest. I have pastored and helped lead and mentor young entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners all my life as a pastor. But
Yeah.
like actually being in business was a whole nother thing. I'll end the story with this and bring you to present day. Like I tried to keep that church alive, even though I knew media and business was going. And every time we would try, it would get 10 times harder. And finally, it was just like, I feel like we're fighting against God on this. I literally couldn't get that church going. So we closed the doors on that in October of 2024, finally.
Hmm.
And then I've been full time in the business now, just doing that alone now for the past, I guess, 18 months or so altogether, but 14 of those months without the church being a part of anything that we're doing. And so now we're full fledged helping people start digital product businesses. That's what we're doing.
Oh my God. I have so many. Okay, wait. We're going to go to what you're doing now presently, but I have questions. I think this is important because a lot of people come to me and they're like, John, when do you know when it's not for you? And you just mentioned that you kept trying. So you
Mm-hmm.
technically went against God for
Mm-hmm.
lack of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 things that are coming to me. The fact that when you hear from him, when it's that inner voice, for me, anytime that I've ever had something come in, you're right, it's a whisper. It's a very like, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, seriously? No, I'm crazy. This is crazy. Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing this. Me personally, I can say that I'll ignore it. And then after like a few days, I'll hear it again. And then I'll hear it again. And then I'm like, all right, God damn it, I fucking hurt you. And I'm like, I love you and shit. Okay, fine. And then I will go and take the action, whatever. But anyways, I just wanted to say is that like, for me, anytime I've ever had to hear something or I've ever asked God and I got the answer, I've had to get really quiet. And as someone, I don't know if you can relate to this now because you're so on your phone and so social media and all the things. As someone who's very much out there, very with people all the time, I find that I personally have to, it's more work for me to escape that, get really grounded and get really quiet. Like I strategically have to not look at my phone for a very long time. I live across from the beach, go to the beach at sunset, sunrise, and just be alone and just sit. And then it's like the silence and it's like, or go for a walk. My family has a house in upstate New York and my dad likes to hunt. So I grew up hunting, I grew up fishing, doing the whole thing. And anytime we go in the woods, anytime I go in the woods, I have huge connection. I don't have it's interesting that it always happens there when I don't have service. I'm like, I'm only with family where I
Mm-hmm.
can't get in touch with anybody and it's just like a silent. Is that how it happens for you? Is it really that inner? Is it really? It's almost. You make it sound like it's almost that simple.
I would say that one of the things that I had to develop early on in my relationship with God was a practice of silence and solitude, because what that does is not every season can you just stay in silence and solitude, but the seasons that you develop and say within yourself, like, I'm going to develop this,
Mhm.
then makes it easier to dial that voice in when you hear it, even in a busy season.
Mm.
So, like, I feel like there's some ebbs and flows. When I look back over my relationship with God, I feel like there's ebbs and flows of silence, solitude, hearing his voice and whisper that launches you into,
Yeah.
business activity, interaction, things that you need to trumpet and say and do. I think
Right.
there's ebbs and flows to all that. But because I had a practice as a young man of just sitting with the scripture, I was always journaling. Like, I learned his voice and learned how to hear his voice in those times of silence, solitude, and obscurity. And
Mm.
so I think that everybody has to go through times where he has to unhurry us.
Mhm.
So, like, hurry is the enemy of all spiritual life,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Like, God is neither male nor female, but I know you'll get what I mean when I
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
this. Like, he's very gentlemanlike in the fact that he will not compete with opposing voices.
Yeah.
And so, like, he will allow you to get as loud and as busy as you possibly want. And
Mhm.
then gracefully, in moments where you finally chill out, go to the beach,
Mhm.
finally lay down, then he'll come in and speak in those moments. Now, you said you make it sound easy. Again, you're talking about years and years
The
of
practice.
dialing in the silence and solitude to
Yeah.
be able to recognize those moments,
Yeah.
but also moments where I realize I'm too busy and I haven't heard that whisper in a long time.
Yeah.
And to go, I miss my friend,
Yeah. Yeah.
and go, just like I would make time for my friends,
Yeah.
I need to make time for his voice. And listen, too many people get prayer wrong. Prayer is not monologue,
Yeah.
prayer is dialogue. And
Mm.
he actually talks back.
He does.
Like, sometimes it's not like the inner whisper, sometimes it's a bird.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's an ocean wave. Sometimes it's a person that you love. Sometimes it's a memory of a person that you love. That's a whole nother thing, because I believe that people you've lost
Mhm.
in Christ, they're not lost, they're just behind a veil.
Mhm.
And very much, I still believe people go, Mark, you may be into some like necromancy stuff. Listen, necromancy is when you talk to the dead, but those of us in Christ know that we don't lose people to death. They transition
For sure.
behind the veil. And
Mhm.
Hebrews, if you look in the book of Hebrews, it talks about you and I being surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. So
Mhm.
I still believe I have family members very much involved in my life that
100%.
are not here.
Yeah. 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 I talk
And
about that
so,
all the
like,
time. Yeah.
anyways, that may freak some people out, but here it is. Like,
No, no, no.
you said
People,
we
don't
were
worry. There's a bunch of freaks that listen to this podcast.
okay, great. Well, I'm a freak too. So it's one of those
These are
things
your
where,
people.
like, but God speaks to us in all these unusual ways. And here's what I love about him too, though. But he also speaks to us in the language we most understand.
Yeah. That's very true.
And because ultimately he's a friend.
Yeah. Wow.
And so anyways, it's so like I know that sometimes when I'm talking, you make it sound, I can make it sound super easy, but I can promise you it's just come from years and years of posture in my heart to
Yeah.
hear that voice and to slow down and hear that whisper. And then not always is it me slowing down. Sometimes it's me being so busy, so loud that when I lay down at night and I feel my heart racing and I'm thinking about a million different things, and all of a sudden it's almost like that anxiety knocks on your heart and goes, hey, the only reason why you're anxious right now is because you've not made time for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not
No,
easy, but
no, it's definitely
it's
not
a
easy.
discipline, not a discipline, I shouldn't say that. It's a grace that comes from
Yeah.
being consistent to hear that voice.
Yeah. Well, I think you said something there. It's practice, right? Like, I think
Hmm.
that's very true. I think that the only reason I hear him is because it's practice, is because I made
Hmm.
practice. And I now know, like I said, I have to turn off my phone. I have to, like,
Hmm.
intentionally be like, I am going to go speak to God. And
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, I pray every day. And I talk to him every day. I talk to him, I mean, I live alone. So, like, I talk to him all the time, you know? But yeah, no, very interesting. And I think in a generation that instant gratification is a thing,
Hmm.
what did you do when you didn't get your sign right away? Because you've told me he's literally said things, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 days later, he, like, it happens. I think that is interesting because I get so many people are like, oh, but I haven't heard a sign. Well, maybe that's the sign, right? Maybe that you haven't heard it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that 7 days. I knew you were gonna say that was when the fire happened.
Yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
crazy. Like 7 days later, it was on my birthday. We had just had we literally had friends and family, some fly drive in to our new property that we had just lived on for 2 months. We had everything. We had a mariachi band, tacos. It was like crazy. We were doing this big to do at my
What
house.
birthday was it? What age?
Oh my God,
How old are
23.
you?
So I was 37.
Okay, so
Uh,
you're 40 now.
I'm sorry, 36. I was turning 36. So
Okay, so
I'll be 39 this month.
you, August what?
24th.
Oh, you're a Virgo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay,
So
okay.
my
Uh-huh.
wife is August 26th. So
Wow. Oh, I'm
um
February 26th.
yeah.
26.
So the deal is we were there and it was kind of getting to the end of the night and just like most of the people had left and just a handful of our closest friends on the back porch and we are just kind of
Yeah.
sitting there talking like, man, this property is amazing. All of a sudden my phone starts ringing, 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 ringing. And that's when we found out the church was on fire. And it was crazy. But it was 7 days later after he had said, like, I want to talk to you about media and business. I'm like, well, if this is you, then shut down what I'm doing if it's not yours and show me what the new blueprint is.
And what happened between then and 7 days? Like, were you still thinking about it? Were you still having conversations? Was it still coming up? Or would you going about your merry day and then all,
I mean, like, what can you do when you hear something like that? You're like, okay, media and business. Okay. Like, I'll
yeah,
lean into that, but I'm still not quite sure what that
right,
means and what exactly you want me to do. And
yeah,
I don't, like, what do I do with the church? Like, is God done with it? Is he going to close it down? Like, are we
right.
going to continue to move forward? Cause at that time we were literally talking about adding another service because we couldn't fit all the people in the building.
Oh,
So like
wow.
we weren't like a struggling church. It was just like it was really starting to take off in that season. So I was kind of like,
Wow.
what are we going to do? And
So,
that was
okay.
crazy. So so
So,
to be honest, in those 7 days, not a lot changed.
yeah. And then that happened. Wow. Okay. So then this goes back to our original question. You kept trying after that.
Yeah.
How do you know when to stop? How did you know when to stop? When you said that things weren't working, what was it? Because I mean, as someone who I am extremely resilient, when I have my eye on something, I have my eye on it. For me to walk away from something, it literally has to be because there's nothing, I've tried everything.
Church fire happens. We're a young church. So
Hmm.
it's like, what are we going to do? So where are we going to meet? And to be honest, not a lot of churches in that city were trying to help us
Hmm.
because we were new and they didn't know who we were. And so we didn't have a lot of options. Finally, there was a pastor that I eventually became friends with that he was like, hey, you can use the building once a month, but there's still like an awkwardness with another church going into another church's building.
Hmm.
It's like a weird thing. I hate to say it, but there's a little political, territorial thing going on there spiritually. But anyways, so like we didn't have a place to regularly gather.
Hmm.
The city did this whole we're going to raise funds and help the church and help the businesses. And I think when it was all said and done, they gave us $1,000. Like, what is $1,000? $1,000 can't run our children's ministry for a month. Like what's $1,000 going to do? So like it
Wow.
was like the city really didn't take care of us. The churches didn't really want to open their doors to help us. We're a young church. We didn't know what to really do. But I would tell you, like after months of months, we literally tried to keep the doors open. The thing that really like started happening though was people weren't able. I found out that people love church.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how many of them have an actual relationship with God.
Mm.
And so when you take the church building away from them, then you find out who really lives this lifestyle, who actually wants to connect with other believers,
Hmm.
or who thinks their relationship with God is just going to a building one Sunday a week and hanging out with other Christians that they don't really hang out with. They just
Yeah.
sing the same songs and hear the sermon and walk out the door. They don't actually do life together. So what
Yeah.
I found out through the church fire is I didn't really have a church. I had a
Mm.
bunch of people that like to come to a building and
Mm.
experience church. And so that was number one. Number two, one of the ways that I've realized in transition that it's time to move on is when people you've never had problems with start getting funky.
What
Like
do you mean by funky?
they start getting offended over
Mm.
ridiculous stuff. Like I'm talking about people I've never even bumped heads with. Like all of a sudden the relationship gets weird. People start getting easily offended. People start whining, complaining. People start like getting weird. Like they just start getting weird and funky in the relationship. And like one of the ways that I would say that I was able to tell like, hey, this is coming to a close is no matter how much energy I put into it, nothing worked.
Yeah.
Secondly, relationships got weird.
Mm.
Thirdly, I started recognizing that everything's getting worse and relationships are getting weird, which means I no longer have a grace for this situation. And so, like, I've been in difficult situations before and realized this is not God saying no.
Yeah.
This is just a situation we're walking through. There's always a grace for it. And people that are doing it with you, there's a grace for it. You're just like,
Yeah.
we're going to get on the other side of it.
Yeah.
But when you start watching situations get worse and worser, and you start watching relationships that you've had for years that have been fine all of a sudden get funky, that's when you go, I think my time's up here again. But it took months and months, not just because I'm a go getter and I'm going to be faithful by God to whatever I'm called to do.
Hmm.
There's another aspect of it where, like, as a pastor, for me, I care about people.
Yeah.
So, like, what is going to happen when I leave? What's going to
Yeah.
happen if we don't continue to have service? What's going to happen when they don't get an atmosphere of worship or get to hear the preaching of the gospel every week? Like, what will happen to those people? And the Lord reminded me very quickly, son, before you ever came to this city, I was still their God.
Mm.
And before you ever were their pastor or their shepherd, I've been their shepherd all their life.
Yeah.
So they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You've got to take the next step and do the thing that I'm asking you to do, which is now media and business.
Wow.
So that's a
Yeah.
crazy story, but I didn't know we were going to talk about all this today. I thought we were going to get into business stuff, but this is important
No,
because
but you don't know that I'm going to bring you back and we're going to do the in-person stuff and then we're going to talk more into the business stuff because we're still going to talk about the business stuff, but that's what's going to happen. That's in my head. I was like, we got to bring Mark
I
back. We
love
got to
it.
be in person.
But
And I want to like meet your wife and I want
yeah, yeah. But these parts are essential, because like I'm kind of probably coming from an angle most people have never come from, but which is I was raised to be a pastor. Like
right.
my parents, for a lack of a better term, this sounds awful, groomed me for ministry.
Yeah.
I had a gift to communicate and preach at
Yeah.
a young age. So like 18, 19 years old, I'm standing on platforms that my parents dreamed of being on.
Right.
And so like I was groomed for this, and God had to take me through a whole process
Yeah.
to show me like, yeah, you may be known for something, but I can turn you into a completely different person, a completely different human being. And being a pastor is no more significant than being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so now I'm fully into entrepreneurship, but yet I pastor people every day.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Like
I was going to say, I was like, I don't think this was something that I had written down as like spirituality and business. And I don't think they're much of a difference, to be
they
honest with you.
can't be. You're not truly spiritual unless spirituality touches every area of your life. There's no
Yeah.
compartmentalizing your
Well,
spirit,
you
man.
think you touched something that I think is very controversial, especially in religion where people go to church on Sunday just to, it's almost like to fill up the gas. Yes, to check the box. And then that's it. That, just because you go to church on Sunday doesn't mean you're religious. To me, that doesn't mean shit. Like, somebody that is spiritual, somebody that believes in God, is somebody that actually talks about it. Somebody's willing to stand in his or her truth and be able to say, actually, I believe in God. In fact, I talk to God. In fact, I
Mhm,
don't make any business decisions without God. Give me a
mhm,
sign. Do I fit
mhm.
with this? And I think that I learned that in my 20s when I was like, you're not actually, like, you just go to check the box. Like, you don't actually talk to God. You don't actually believe in him. You don't know if he's real. You think you do because you were told and you were taught.
Mhm.
And there is a huge difference between the two.
100%.
There is a huge difference between the two. Oh God, we could go for hours. we
Oh,
could
yeah,
go
I'm
for
gonna say
hours.
I could get on that soapbox and ride a long
Yeah,
time.
yes. Okay, we're gonna make a note about this. I can go for hours because I cannot tell you the conversations I've had with people, especially family, where they
Mhm,
very much are like, if God is real, then why did your brother die? Or why did these horrible things happen?
mhm.
And I'm like, I don't think that was his choice. I think that was our choice.
So let me say something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna really shake people on your podcast. God is not in control.
No.
So like there's a teaching in the church, God is sovereign, okay? Which means he overlooks things and he's watching over things. And does he have an ultimate will for the world? I believe so.
Yes.
Okay. How we get to that though is God weaving his goodness through our free will.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, God is sovereign, but if you go all the way back to the beginning of the book of Genesis, he
Mhm.
put authority and dominion in man.
Mm.
And he said, you're going to actually run this place.
Mhm.
Your decisions are going to determine the outcome of this. And then I'm going to move through the people who find that inner whisper,
Mhm.
who tie into my voice
Mhm.
and do my will.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ultimately going to bring this about for good, but you can
You could choose.
speed that up or you can hinder that process because I'm ultimately giving you the choice.
Choice.
And so when people, because in the church, they hear the lie, God's in control, God's in control. And then when a family member passes away, you go, where was God?
It's right
And
there.
people get into this idea, well, if God was real, if God was truly in control, then he would not have allowed that to happen.
Right.
See, here's the part we don't want to talk about. God so believes in us as human beings and so values our free will and our choice to love him and partner with his plan. He so values that he allowed Hitler to kill 11 million people. We don't want to talk about that.
No.
We don't want to talk about the fact, like, could God have stopped it? I believe you can read stories where God helped stop it.
Mhm.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, God empowers us as humanity
To make choices.
with free will.
Yeah.
And you can use that for good
Yeah.
or you can use that for bad. So I hate to bust somebody's bubble today, but the reality is he's not in control. You are, and
Yeah.
other people's actions are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many people listening to this podcast, you have blamed God for stuff that he didn't do.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when we went through that whole thing of losing our salary in Covington and moving
Mhm.
into the apartment, and my wife was just going, how could God do this to us? And I
Mm.
said, oh, honey, God didn't do this. Those people
Mhm.
did.
Mhm.
Like, God didn't put us in this situation. Those people did.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's when I looked at my wife, especially when I got this word for media and business. And I said, here's what I know moving forward.
Mhm.
We will never again
Be in a situation.
live off of the benevolence of other people
Mm.
when God has given us the power to create wealth.
Mm.
And what happens in that? I believed in one season God was in control and God was sovereign.
Mhm.
And what I realized was because I believed God was in control and God was sovereign, I willingly live my life off of the benevolence of other people as a pastor.
Mhm.
But God reminded me, this is in Deuteronomy 8:18. This is a fascinating verse. He says, remember the Lord your God, for it is him that gives you the power to create wealth.
Mm.
And in that moment, I realized, my God, I've lived my life as an Old Testament priest, waiting for people to be generous to me because of my ministry to them.
Right.
And actually, God's like, and see, the reason why you're moving into an apartment, the reason why your finances are all messed up is because you lived off of other people's will.
Mhm.
And now I'm putting dominion back in your hands. And since this whole transition, we have started to build wealth because we didn't do well, God's going to take care of us. God's going to
Right.
provide. He's in control. No, he gave us the power to do these things. And
Right.
so we're going to take control and do his will.
I love all of this. I love all of this. I cannot even tell you the amount of goosebumps, the tears that you've brought to my eyes this entire hour that you've been talking, and I couldn't agree with anything more than what you've said. The interesting thing though is, and whoever's listening, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you keep coming back to the self-love and self-worth, and it ties back into you. The podcast we did last week, was with an astrologer and very spiritual. She's one of my clients, and we ended the conversation with God is within each and every single one of us, without sounding like egotistical or narcissist. That
Sure.
we are the creators, that we have a choice. We have the free will to believe and trust. And I think faith is very important, like you said. And I would consider faith like leaving there's certain things that you're like, you know what? I'm going to leave it to God. I put it in God's hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. But ultimately, it comes back to your own self-worth, because you said it right there. You spent 4 years getting paid off of someone else. And the moment God was like, you are the one that has the power. You've always had the power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are the one that is worthy of my love. You are the one that's worthy of, being financially stable, taking care of your family, etc. And then you created this business. And this business that you have is amazing. And you're
Thank you.
working and you're helping. And I love when we connected last year that your bio did not say what it says now. And now it says. And I was reading it last night before we had our podcast interview, and I was like, I love this new bio because it couldn't be more perfect for who you are and what you stand for. But it says, I help faith-based messengers turn their wisdom into digital products. And it's true. And I'm sure that the spirituality that is in your container and the people, like I said, you're still preaching.
Yep.
It looks differently. It's probably even better, to be honest with you. Because now you have money about it. And it's, and that's a whole other conversation, money and religion. That's the conversation we're going to have when we get to Miami. Because I think they're all in one. I think it's all the same. And anyway, I won't continue that, but tell us a little bit more before we wrap this up here, but tell us more about, okay, so now you're selling digital products. You
Mhm.
grew your Instagram following. You have a huge audience. When we spoke, it was not specific to faith-based. So how
Yeah.
has this transitioned? What was the epiphany moment? Dial it in for us.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's been crazy. Like we took a step out. Our audience on Instagram went from, I had like 3,000 people. Now we've got over 200,000 followers on Instagram. Facebook has exploded. And our business went from, I remember when you and I first did our podcast, I was excited that we had $10,000 a month. Now we just had our first $40,000 month. And so like, just amazing like things. But like the shift for me was two things. And this is why people listen to this podcast need to go take a step further than just the podcast, and you need to hire a coach.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, like what really happened was I hired a coach. I
Yeah.
hired two coaches. One was a marketing person in particular, and another one was a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like my messaging was strong. I really felt like my offer was strong. I just didn't know how to sell, to be honest. What's crazy is the marketing coach is what led to the sales coach,
Mm-hmm.
and the sales coach is what changed my life. And so I think for me, what I'm realizing, and I've heard you say this to me, like this, you were so instrumental in helping me get to the place where I even had a continued business. I remember reaching out to you when I had
Yeah.
2 months where there were no sales, and it was
Yeah.
going, what the heck is going on? And you hit me with this. You need one offer. You need like you
Yeah.
just one. And I'm like over here trying to do 5 different things. You're like,
Yeah.
you need one path, one offer, like this whole thing.
Dial it in, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, dial it in. And so I did. So I appreciate that, by the way. And
Oh.
but the big thing was for me is I realized like if you're broad, you're broke.
Mm.
And
Okay, like that.
if you're specific, you not only get sales, but you get speed for
Mm-hmm.
sales.
Yeah.
And so specificity has been a big thing for me. And so like I'm like, I have to be like something a mistake I made early on was I tried to hide all the pastor faith-based talk.
Yeah.
I
You know,
tried
I
to
felt
hide
that when we talked. There was like the hesitation of like, yeah, I did it. And I'm like, you swifted along. And I'm like,
I'm like, I don't know if people are ready to hear, like that's where I was. Like, I don't know
right.
if people, when I go into this business, and I felt like it would be very limiting to me. So I'm like, I just need to be broad. I need to pull some of that stuff back. And I realized that the success of my business is always going to be related to my authenticity.
Yeah.
And
Because it's
I
who
had to
you
learn,
are.
that the hard way. And in the moment that I was like, you know what? I am a believer. I'm a faith-based guy. That's
Yeah.
who I am. That's my background. That's the world I came out of. I can speak that language better than anybody. This business stuff, some of it's new, but I'm making strides in it, and I'm becoming, some people would consider me an expert in digital products now. So like
Mhm.
you look at that and you go, but why would I compartmentalize this? Let me bring my whole self to the table.
Yeah.
The moment I brought my whole self to the table is the moment everything shifted in my business. So what changed? I decided that I wasn't going to be Mark Casto, the faith guy in private, and Mark Casto, the business guy in public. I'm going to be Mark Casto, period, wherever I am. And when I said yes to that, it took off. And if faith based is not your thing, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not here for everybody, but I'm
Yeah.
here for somebody. And
Yeah.
the moment that I realized I'm not for everybody, but I'm for somebody, I started reaching everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild, but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
true.
you said it, specificity is speed. And if
Uh-huh.
you're broad, you're broke. I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh, so
Yeah,
good.
those are big.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mark, I have to have you back here in
I
person.
would love to.
We have to do this. I feel like we would have like a 2 hour podcast because we talk about more spirituality and money and all. I have so many
Sure.
questions. Like I could jam out on you with you for days.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Oh my
I'd love
goodness.
to.
So many questions. But, I really just want to say thank you so much, genuinely, for one, being here, for two, sharing your wisdom with my audience and everybody here, and for three, for doing the work and being not only like doing it, but actually not only saying it, but actually doing it.
Yeah.
I commend you for the work that you're doing in the world. I genuinely, I know it's needed. Um, you have left me with goosebumps. I am extremely grateful to have you on here. And we usually, I end this podcast with, how do plan to impact the world? But I think we already know that. And so I just want to say thank you so much. Can you tell us where everybody can find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can type in Mark Casto YouTube. Don't go too far down the YouTube train because you will find some old videos of me preaching in a way that I don't believe anymore. But it's there. It's history.
Yeah.
I grew up in public in a lot of ways. But if you go to Mark Casto on YouTube, but I always tell people if you really want to connect, DM me the word wise on Instagram and we'll
Yeah.
reach out to you. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And we'll add Instagram and any freebies or anything that we'll add it in the show notes so you guys can grab them below. But like you said, go over at Instagram, DM him Wise. It's him. You guys can connect with him. He's absolutely amazing. Tell him that you came from this podcast. And again, appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you, Mark, for being here.
Thank you for
And we'll
having
see you
me.
guys on the next episode.
If you guys like this episode, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and reach out to me on Instagram and let me know what you thought about this one. This was a little deep, but I really want to hear what you guys thought. All right, I'll see you guys next time.